Okay, so we are live now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shruti
Yeah.
Chatterjee, and I welcome you all to this panel discussion on cultural identity and ideology, curated under TMYS review in association with Center of South Asian Studies, University of Hawaii. Under this theme, TMYS review March 2023 will explore the role of community appearance and individual presentation in shaping cultural identity and ideology. I would also like to say that we're calling for submissions of stories, essays, and poems. And for project architecture and submission guidelines, please visit our website www.tellmeyourstory.biz. Today's topic of discussion is emerging trends in convenience dressing, preferences with respect to occupation, geographical locations, festivals, or workplace. And we are honored to have with us Dr. Nithyaprakash Venkatasamy, Dr. Vaibbhavi Pruthviraj Ranavaade, and Professor Layla Mendes as our esteemed speaker for this panel discussion. I shall now quickly introduce our speakers. Our first speaker for tonight is Dr. Nithyaprakash Venkataswamy, sir. Dr. Nithyaprakash Venkataswamy covers areas like trend analysis, menswear, design strategy, pattern making, design foundation. He firmly believes those cultural beliefs and facts about dresses. Their epistemology points to major interventions. He campaigned for fashion anthropology perspective of fashion identity. His interests cover fashion forecasting, decolonization, and sustainability. His professional skills derive their strength from them. These aspects provide him the option to prop up the sustainability perspectives of textile art interpretations and their expressions. Our next speaker for tonight is Dr. Vaibbhavi Pruthviraj Ranavaade, design
Hello.
design educator, researcher, designer, author, and with over 2 decades of experience with wide international industry exposure. She has been founding HOD of premier design schools in Pan India. She has diverse research experience in the area of semiotics of fashion, Indian fashion system, sustainable fashion, varied applied research for design projects. Co-founder and principal designer for of Indian craft-based slow fashion label Vaibbhavi. And our third panelist, Professor Layla Mendes. Professor Layla Mendes is a scholar in fashion design at University of Minho, masters in fashion design and communication at University of Minho, textile engineer at UFRN Brazil, professor in the fashion design undergraduate course at Federal Institute of Rio Grande do Norte, IFRN. She has been working with trend studies, specifically trends aimed at the fashion industry since 2019. 2030. Thank you for joining us today. Now, with further delay, we shall start with our today's session. And first, I'd like to request Dr. Nitya Prakash Venkataswamy, sir, to present your views on today's topic. And I would also like to request to please keep your mics on mute. So while one is speaking, and over to you, sir.
Thank you for your wonderful introduction, Shruti. To get it started with convenience dressing, convenience dress ascribes its meaning from what is accessible and provides them comfort, feel at ease with the place and the activity. So the emphasis could be on modesty of the occasion, or it could be driven by socio-cultural values, or it could be driven by the uh, passion, or there are so many motivations behind the convenience dress. But if you look at a broader scenario, we can break it down into occasion specific convenience dressing for office wear, or convenience dressing when it happens to be in a sports, or convenience when it happens to be in traveling or elsewhere. So getting started, so the idea of convenience, comfort was first emphasized when women started working in factories post First World War. So that was the time they realized most of the women's garments were not fit for their functional work, whatever the daily chores and other industrial work which they are taking part newly. So so that's triggered a new concept about what it means to be comfort, not only the thermal comfort, the movement comfort, and the feel of ease, and all these aspects. Then to get along, how did it get along? It is a continuous development. See, if you look at what happened in 1884 for the first time, women also started playing, were allowed to participate in Wimbledon tennis championships. Okay, so let us kickstart with how it unfolds, what it means to be a convenience in a sports dress with reference to tennis as a sport. If you look at tennis, All England Club, the one which regulates the Wimbledon championships, uh, emphasize all the garments or any whether the foundation garments or the outer garments should be white in color. So this is an enormous stress on the women. Only recently they did open up and they had made an announcement that they would allow women to wear foundation garments, especially their undershirts in a darker color to fight off the stresses which they experience during the menstrual time. So another area in the tennis court what we see is we could see Serena Williams wearing a cat suit and participating in the French Open in around 2018. So that was a remarkably shocking and a surprise for the organizers when they found her participating in such a sellouts. So the question came the answer she gave was it helped her in a larger way to overcome her blood clot problems. And that's the reason. And that's the so to feel at ease with her body, she chose a catsuit to to wear and appear for a major Grand Slam tennis tournament. So dress always speaks about feeling at ease, appropriately dressed for the occasion and the situation. And this is again not the same for everyone. It differs with the person to person. It differs by the age of the person, and it differs between genders, and it differs with reference to the nature of activity. If you look at now of late, post COVID 19, we could see some office dress codes being relaxed to a larger extent. So there's a new concept called relaxed suits where we could see the Indian traditional dresses being mixed with the Western trousers and the jackets. And this is not only in India, it's happening around many other places across the world also, because the organizations realize that people should feel at ease in order to harness their potential and their creative work for them. So, which has sparked of a lot of debate and a lot of relaxation in the office wear dress codes. So this again, if you can see today, a knitted top being mixed with denim shorts, denim trousers, full trousers, and with a jacket on top of it. No one would have allowed this as an office wear in the earlier 10 years ago or something. So that's something which we see nowadays in the office wear trends. Then to cap it, if you look at the convenience browsing trends, with reference to the geographical location, especially India. In India, its fashioning is all about patterning, ornamental jewelry, and colors. As we draw our influence from our moral standards, which says that men or women are expected to be bejeweled and smear their foreheads with some fillet when they go out of their home. So patterning and experimenting colors is always a kind of a fashionable choice for a woman, and it's not only a fashionable choice; it's a more that's the overall scheme in which they found very convenient. And it's not specific to India. We could see the West African countries also adopting their ethnic clothing like kaba and slits for their workplaces and slowly one after another. And if there's much more happening in Africa in explaining their identity through the races. So the convenience with reference to a geographical location again it differs, and they find their ethnic sellouts to be convenient, and they mix it match with the Western sellouts and the separates clothing. And another classic example I should mention here is the outfits designed by, or which is quoted by rather than designed, we can call it as, in which she appeared. She's none other than the great Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. She used her ethnicity to portray her fight against the suffering she was through, and in exemplifying the a face of the a Mexican culture. irrespective of their after physical deformities and uh, other problems she ran the brain. But never mind, she was then a classical example of putting convenience, expressing her native values uh, above all. If you look at what's happening in traveling, long ago, not much long ago, in 5 years back in 2017, United Airlines of America stopped one of two young women from wearing who were wearing leggings and boarding their flight. So that was annoying for everyone, which has slowly come, the world has come out of it, and we find many people today do wear leggings and take board a flight, and successfully they do go. But the bottom line is any restrictive clothing around your waist is not the best choice when you're boarding a flight and traveling. And this can be extended. We can see the travelers who travel by two-wheelers and bikes, especially, they do they stick to this long sleeve jackets and full trousers with the fitting boots. So every occasion has its own element of convenience because of it, what surrounds us, what determines that what dress which dress is convenient for that an occasion is the nature of the activity in which they're going to engage. So that is these aspects. So these whatever we have spoken now has really has triggered a lot of trends in the convenience risk. And when it comes to religion, we have seen Amina Khan, the only hijabi model who was roped in for LOL had campaign. So that's something the world has started to see beyond the religion. And she did say it is her choice and it's not their compulsion. And she chose to wear hijab because she found herself convenient. And she was able to transcend beyond the religious expectations and set an example for everyone. So now if you look at the common dressing trends, especially for the casual summer, you can see today a jeans and a tank top with an oversized shirt. You can see minimalistic mini dresses, low and earlier, the halter neck dresses were for the discos and the parties, but today a halter the model combined with the bottom, which we call as the halter midi dress, it gets paired with the jackets, and they are huge success, and as well as casual convenient dressing trends go. So the point here is when we speak about convenience, it's it's represented in different ways for different occasions and different activities, and amidst conveying their identity through the dress which they use as a vehicle. So more often, this has started reflecting an attitude and a new outlook for life. And to matter the most, convenience dressing is not an exclusive, it doesn't carry any exclusive attributes like a fashion outfit would carry it along with it. Day by day, we see a lot of stereotypes being broken. One such example is one of the Nithyaprakash when she, after completing her graduation at NIF, when she appeared for an interview with Mother Garments, she was the topper of that course and she participated in that interview wearing the salwar kameez. Everyone was asking her why did she choose to wear a salwar kameez where her fellow Niftyans were wearing western trousers with jackets and the answer she gave was it's the dress she in which she finds herself very comfortable and at ease and that brought the best out of her, yeah, all across all her academic streams. So that's something. It's making convenience dressing has started making inroads into many categories. It's not going to be bound within the four walls of your house like a loungewear no more. But again, what you represent through your convenience dress also represents the attitude of your society and the values inbuilt, ingrained in the society. So it's a cost. there are some pros and cons of convenient dressing. There are some good examples. What I've shared is the good examples of convenient dressing set upon by these few style accounts and other common men and women in our walks of our life. But if you look at the downside, there have been many policing happening when someone chooses to wear a dress which he or her finds it very comfortable in, but it might be inappropriate for when you want to mingle along with a group of other people. So it's an ever-growing process. It has convenience dressing will go a long way in the future, and it's not going to be bound by the limitations of and limitations of fashion or the limitations of an ethnicity or geographical region. It will cut across regions and it will spread across like a wave and it will go. You could see a whole sea change happening. And this convenience dressing, when we say it means it's also ascribes accessibility. Today, we have faced a crunch of natural resources, material availability. So accessibility to a convenience risk is again a challenge nowadays due to this material crunch. And we expect to see some changes put forth or bring forth by the sustainability standards and the circular fashion limits. So with this, I conclude my talk on a brief talk on convenience dressing, and it's not the least. It is going to be the next big thing which is going to happen in fashion, or it's going to what you call immerse something that everyone is going to immerse themselves in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this factual representation. And next, I'd like to request Professor Layla Mendes to present her views on today's topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear
Hello,
you.
Hello, good evening for all of you in India and good morning for all of you in Brazil. I'm really happy to be here as a part of this panel. And I'd like to bring to you a little bit of what's going on in Brazil and what's going on related to these trends and fashion industry. It's really interesting to observe how cultural and political, social aspects they can really be act as drivers within the diffusion of innovation, diffusion of trends within the society. So to talk a little bit more clearly, I brought a PowerPoint, a few slides to show you some pictures so you could understand better about what's going on right now in Brazil. First of all, I'd like to start telling that it's probably world known. All of you maybe already heard about Brazil and our lifestyle, which we can also communicate this lifestyle, this Brazilian lifestyle related to the Brazilian fashion and Brazilian outfit. We are known as a really happy country, wearing bright colors and a lot of patterns, which represents our tropical lifestyle and beaches and everything. This happiness related to football, related to music and everything. And this year, especially, some interesting effects already happened in the country related to not only about this happiness way of life, this happy way of life that we like to say that we have in Brazil. This year, Anitta, which is a Brazilian artist, she represents this favela lifestyle, which is a culture, a particular lifestyle from the ghetto of Brazil, specifically from Rio de Janeiro city. And today, this year, she had a world tour She's a singer, and she plays funk music, which is a typical style of Brazil. And she had a world tour, presented in a few festivals this last summer, and she brought to these festivals this favela lifestyle to the world, showing how happy we are to show our culture to the world. And this picture that I'm showing you right now, it's really interesting because she brought on her outfit, she's in the center of the picture, and she brought the colors of our flag on her outfit, which is yellow, green, and blue, which represents a really interesting aspect of our current political situation that I will talk better later. And this helped Anita bringing these colors to her outfit in this worldwide tour. This fact highlight this trend that the media worldwide was showing, this trend that they called Brazil core. With some influencers, some artists, global artists, sharing photos, wearing also the colors of our flag, bringing back this idea of Brazilian identity in fashion. Also, some photos we could see on street style. People wearing these Havaianas flip-flops, which is typical flip-flops that we use in Brazil. It's well known in Brazil, and also it's a brand that started to be known worldwide. And in some news, we also could see the interesting. They were telling that maybe Havaianas through this season they could replace the Birkenstock trends, which is already a well-known brand worldwide. So we could see everything happening this year. But this is what we were seeing worldwide about Brazilian fashion, and Brazil in the center of the trends. But right now in Brazil, what was happening in the country is that a lot of political manifestations through colors, because we had the elections this year, and people who were supporting our current government, the president Bolsonaro president, they were wearing the colors of our flag, green and yellow and blue. And people who were against the current government, supporting the left wing, were wearing the red color. And this became not only a symbol of a Brazilian identity, but also a way to manifest that our people found to manifestate their political view. And for the first time in the recent democratization history of Brazil, a president couldn't be re-elected because the majority of the country showed that we were not happy with the current government. So wearing these colors became also a way to show the world that we were not happy with the Bolsonaro's government. And we could see also in the fashion shows, like this picture that I'm showing, which is from a Brazilian brand. It's a brand from the northeast of Brazil, specifically from the region that I work. And they showed the colors, an outfit wearing the colors red, telling that they also support the left wing. They are not happy with the current government. And plus, with the color red, they brought some aspects of our tradition, our culture related to embroidery and related to handmade knitting. The trousers were made from handmade knitting. And in the hat, they have a word which is Northeast. And it's a really symbolic thing to be right now in Brazil, because we, in this last election that happened last month, most of the votes from the Northeastern people were against the current government. So red became a color to represent the political point of view from this region. And the rest of the country, mostly the people who were supporting Bolsonaro, they were wearing the colors of our flag, and they were also showing bad feelings against Northeastern people, because most of Northeastern people were supporting the left wing and Lula, the president who got elected. So this is to understand the current situation better. This is a photo that I found today in the morning, and I found it really interesting to show you. Today is it will be the first match of Brazilian team. And I think the whole world knows how Brazilians are crazy about football. And related to this situation, for a while, since the colors of our flag represented supporting the Bolsonaro government, a lot of people, they stopped wearing the colors because they didn't want to show themselves supporting Bolsonaro. And because of this World Cup, which is something that always affects the whole country, we are really excited about it, about football and everything. And people started questioning, is it that moment? Am I able to start again wearing the colors of my country just to show that I support the football team in the World Cup? Or am I gonna be, people will understand me as supporting Bolsonaro? So people started to be in this situation, which they didn't know how to act, if they should you wear or not the colors. So we saw this photo. I saw today in the morning this photo of a Brazilian flag, and it's written, "It's just for the World Cup." Someone raised the flag in their apartment in Brazil. I don't know actually the city, but telling that I'm using the flag just to support the football team, not to support, it doesn't mean that I'm supporting the government. And this is a situation that is happening right now. And changing a little bit about the topic about the World Cup and about this political as a driver to trend diffusion in Brazilian society, I'd like to show a little bit about the region that I'm working in, which is a city located in the northeast of in the countryside of the northeastern state in Brazil. So we are located, really, the city is called Caicó. And there we have a fashion design undergrad course, and we are always trying to make our students understand the relationship in between the macro trends, the global trends, and how they can translate this information into their own reality. Because the city has a lot of particularly and interesting aspects that we think as not only a cultural aspect, but also related to innovation. If our students, they learn how to use these cultural values in a way to bring innovation, we think that it will be really nice. So the Caicó city is a city known as the main city in the region that the city is. And we have a really big event every year, which is a Catholic event. But this event is not only related to religious practices, but it's related also to festivals, to concerts, and is a really important event for the economy, for the local economy. And during this event, people in general, they wear more our embroidery, our local embroidery, because the city has a culture about a specific embroidery, about products, handmade, and in general, people think that these traditions, they are losing power. But during this event properly, we can see that people are more proud of you taking back these cultural aspects to their outfits, and then showing them, showing to the city, and showing during the festivities how proud they are to be a part of to be from that city and to be a part of that culture. And we always push our students to bring these values to their creative process as a part of the innovation. So this year we had this workshop teaching teaching our students how to do this handmade embroidery, so they could be a part of this process, bringing back these traditions, because we know that with the internet, with the as fast as fashion goes, some cultural traditions, they are losing power. And then we could see also in the around the country some movements also trying to bring again this power of the northeastern fashion and the power of these handmade products, bringing to the fashion all around the country. As we can see, this project which is called Nordestese. I know it's a complicated word in Portuguese, but bringing this lifestyle, northeastern lifestyle, to fashion, and it was also shown in Brazilian Vogue. And and to finalize, we could see also our student, this guy Ezron is our student, and he brought he released a collection. He showed a fashion collection in an event known in Brazil, which is the second biggest fashion event in Brazil, which is called Casa de Criadores. And he presented a collection also wearing the colors that represents our political point of view, like that we are not satisfied with the current government, and also bringing aspects to our local traditions about embroideries and knitting, handmade knitters, and mixing this current scenario about political, economical, and also the local aspects of trends. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative and factful presentation. Next, I'd like to request Dr. Vaibbhavi Pruthviraj Ranavaade, ma'am, to present her views on today's topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. It's always a challenge being the third speaker in the row, but I'll try and share my insights and topics that essentially that I'm going to speak around. I was asked to speak about was convenience dressing and how it percolates down to sustainable practices. That's right, Shruti?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So, let's just try and understand what is convenience all about. Let's try and reiterate that. So, when we talk about convenience, it's mostly about something that is quick and easy to achieve and that suits one's lifestyle. The individual would prefer it that way. And when that will lead to certain buying practices also, whether one would want to buy it on buy fashion online or through convenience stores in the neighborhood, or get something custom made. Again, convenience dressing will also be defined by what the weather conditions in that geographic location are, what is the social role of the person, also one's attitude towards clothing, whether it is something which is very basic and functional, or whether somebody who is looking at being stylish yet effortless. And then there are some who would take immaculate effort in dressing up for a certain occasion. Right. So, having said this, there are so many aspects to be looked at and considered when it comes to convenience clothing choices. And furthermore, sustainability is no longer a option in today's world. That is something that each and every individual will have to take a responsibility for, whether you are a manufacturer of clothing or whether you are a consumer of clothing, right? And when we talk about sustainability, There are three major aspects to sustainability. One is economic sustainability for the person who are engaging in that business. It's also about eco-sustainability. There is only one planet Earth, and we do not have an option of another as yet. And that's something that we need to conserve the resources for our generations going forward. What further are we looking at is also cultural sustainability, which seems to be largely undermined. And I would like to reiterate the fact that this is something that is going to define human cultures and communities worldwide. And they, in a way, also look at past practices that these communities or cultures have been practicing over the years, and that can definitely be seen in clothing consumption, or the convenience fashion that is the topic for today, right? So going back to what considerations people can adapt in today's lifestyle with regards to convenience fashion, and how sustainability practices are being looked at. There is a huge red flag that needs to be raised and understood around the greenwashing practices that is rampant. Sustainability and immunity, I think, were the two most overrated words through the pandemic, and they continue to be so. And at the risk of being very, very point blank, this is something that we need to be very, very cautious of. And at the other end, sustainability is something that each and every one of us will have to endeavor towards. So when we talk about that, we try and look at AIM sustainability practices as a choice in every wardrobe that each one builds. So when we talk about this, the choice of opting for sustainable uh, clothing that suits one's wardrobe requirements, understanding of eco friendly textiles, and safe laundry practices, because everyone who wears clothes has to wash clothes and be ready with a fresh set of clothes for the next use, right? Uh, Other very, very important practices about reusing the clothes, or wherever possible of mending, repairing, and recycling of these clothing pieces already in one's wardrobe. So they say the most sustainable garment is the one which is already in your wardrobe. But you do need new supplements to enrich your wardrobe and replenish the ones which are no longer of good use. Again, organizing one's wardrobe for easy access, that could be a very, very important practice with regards to convenience clothing. And also, most importantly, reducing the need of unnecessary shopping, right? So every time one steps out for shopping, you need to consider how does it suit your lifestyle, and how often would you be using that garment. Again, swapping or buying from thrift stores pre-loved clothes which are already there on the face of this planet, rather than creating something new, that could be a good sustainable practice that people could look at. And most importantly, whenever we feel the need to buy something new, let's buy something which is of good quality and that will last longer, and that way can be worn multiple times, and you will have a more classic wardrobe. And that's one thing that everyone should definitely look at. And to reiterate that, at the Chitkara School of Design Fashion Department, we organize a whole lot of activities where we are encouraging students to swap clothes amongst themselves and understand the value of pre-loved clothes, and sharing the story of who made the clothes and how that story gets further passed on. When you know the story behind what has gone into making of a certain piece of clothing, it becomes that much more difficult for you to discard that off, right? And again, very, very important aspect, sharing some observations that I saw in my studio on the contextual research of fashion with the very bright learners at the university, Chitkara University Design School, is that convenience fashion is indeed something specific to an individual, whether it is the ethnic group that they belong to, the race, the social roles that the individual plays in the community, the age, gender, the income levels of the person, the lifestyle, all these determine their choices. However, there are a whole lot of fashion trends, as a previous speaker pointed out, emerging in different fashion segments, and demographic groups further lead to psychographic inclusions. And these are of a very, very, what do you say, this kind of brings in a diversity in the preferences towards the icons or celebrities that the communities follow, their idea of entertainment, and the kind of leisure pursuits that they will engage in, the music they enjoy. All of these will contribute towards cherishing this huge diversity that we're looking at alongside convenience fashion, right? Again, sharing another example, we've all been through a huge human like catastrophe in the name of the pandemic, which led to huge lockdowns across the world, and the world was compelled to be at home and work with social distancing. That also meant that people needed to work from home, and in that process, people workplaces also adapted to people working in convenient clothing, working from home. And sooner as we came out of the lockdown and people started moving out of their homes, people it was very difficult for people to get back to their rigid formal dress codes, and therefore you saw the adoption of easy fit trousers and athleisure as formal workwear going along in a lot of industry sectors. And then on the other hand, you had people going on a rebound where people thought that they had to go very, very extravagant. So in this case, I will also point out a case where, like an example where weddings in India, especially where people splurge a lot, and this is where, one occasion where people want to wear the most extravagant clothes, not only the ones who are getting married, but people who are attending the weddings also, which is great. But if you can look at more sustainable practices around these celebrations as well, that would be really nice. Is something that I would like to share with the audience today, and further headway. Maybe that could lead to some changing trends of adopting sustainability even in bridal fashions and wedding fashions as well. Uh, Another very, very important thing is that sometimes people would say that sustainable fashion is maybe uh, adopting sustainable fashion could be a little expensive, which again is a myth, right? So people say that fast fashion is so much cheaper, but let us be very, very clear that nothing is cheap. Someone somewhere is paying the price of that cheaply made alternatives created by fast fashion, and that is being mindless. And it is being created in volumes and it is being consumed mindlessly very, very fast and discarded even faster, right? So that's something that we need to be very cautious of. It is high time people understand that every time you buy a cheap garment, someone got a low wage, the environment was polluted. More so, the poor quality of garment that will definitely get that garment will get damaged over a period of time, few washes, and you will need to buy more. So let's also understand how does this work with this example that I share. Is that someone's buying four t-shirts for rupees 250 each, and that totals to around 1,000 rupees. Those clothes look cheap. They have been made in a sweatshop by exploiting some person, and they will last only for a few washes and therefore needs to be discarded very, very soon and eventually ends up in a landfill. On the other hand, if you buy a well-made product, a shirt with a good quality stitching, sewing, good quality sewing, good quality fabric and trims, and authentic design, it will last you several years and it is worth every penny that is invested, right? So let us not be penny wise and pound foolish. Further, also it's time that we embrace inconvenience clothing, which is responsible, which is earth friendly, which is pocket friendly, and also people friendly. And this is what we practice as a slow fashion label by Vaibbhavi. We make clothes with a lot of love for the maker, the wearer, and also the earth. Let us celebrate the authentic handcrafted textiles in whichever part of the world you are in, and also try and present them in a contemporary way that more and more people can adopt them in their convenient lifestyles, in their contemporary lifestyles, and adopt that as a convenient fashion option. I think with that, I would like to take a pause and happy to take questions further.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative to hear you speak. So, with this, we now move on to the question answer round of today's segment. And my first question is for Dr. Nithyaprakash, sir. And my
Yes.
first question to you, sir. In modern times, every other day, a new trend emerges in social media in the subject of fashion. How do you think this has an impact on socio-economic status? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. This every other what we call it as a social media trend. It's majority of them is merely about entertainment. If you look at the background, there will be one or two which would take off as a micro and end up as a seasonal fashion trend, which could manifested and that being adopted by a majority of the people. So the crux of the social media themes or trends which appear, some of are merely entertainment. Not everything becomes a trend and it has a wave of followers. It's only a few which takes on and take because when we talk about socio-economic values, our culture influences it and what we appreciate and encourage is what it stems from our cultural values, what we have imbibed across across our life. So a social media trend is again it happens in the web space. Everyone happens to has an opportunity to see it and assimilate it, but still it doesn't all trends doesn't take off. It's one except a few, like a few men which connect with the prevailing or the evolving socio-cultural values that take along. It's not everything. That's my opinion on social media trends. If I would like to, if there are any questions, I would be eager to answer them as well. If there are any
Thank you
further
so much,
questions
sir.
on this, I would be eager to answer. Yeah.
Yes, there is another question for you. So, there are brands which are focusing on eco friendly and sustainable clothing and accessories that are in demand these days. With that in mind, could you shed some light on the process of upcycling? Over to you, sir.
Upcycling upcycling has been adopted by major brands across the world. A classical example is Patagonia, how it recycles the bottles and takes until what you call it launches a new it gives a new cycle, new life, a durable life to the garment which they produce. And when we speak about upcycling, we see a brand called Reformation, which picks the dead stock fabric, works it, and converts them into dresses. There are a whole lot of designers working on it. It's not just the Western countries, everywhere across India, Southeast Asian countries, even like Sri Lanka. And we could see the South American countries and the brands, but to start with, like, say, luxury fashion wear, like Stella McCartney. Everyone is adopting the sustainable trend, and there has been a kind of what you call infusion of values that we need to take care of our dead stock, which that awareness has even driven some brands in India. For example, today we see Richaka, which converts the plastic papers and the multi-layer plastics which are used for packing the sweets and savories and uses them for converts them into handbags So which are a major hit across cities like Mumbai and Delhi, where they value clean air today. And let's not forget another brand, the Christy Dawn, which is sourced from a place called Erode in Tamil Nadu, which adopts regenerative farming. Okay, there's a saying that what's in the environment is going to be the same for our body. So, uh, which uh, which is again a translation of a Tamil proverb. So there are many brands which is working on eco dyes or what we call Ayurvestra. Ayurvestra is one such company which it uses one like eco-friendly dyes, and it emphasis is on a zero cutting waste as well, so that you don't leave a scraps or strips of fabric after you cut a lay. It's almost uh, the waste scraps, if any, are also applied on the garment as a style feature. So upcycling, this is regarding the practices which are happening in India. Another area where in India is making progress is the silk saris. So people who own their mother's silk saris, they are not throwing it, whether it is 40 years old or 30 years old. We can see many of them rewashing it using soap nuts, and there are some classes being conducted how to prep it, the look of the old silk sari, which is 25 or 30 years, which is happening around a lot of places in Tamil Nadu. And we do see, instead of ditching the old silk saris owned by their mothers and grandmothers, some of them do convert it into fashionable dresses also. And beyond that, FMK is at the end of its shell life. After reconversion to another form, it is being used for making torrents and decoratives which fill up the walls of the Indian interiors. So upcycling, especially in silk garment, is a big hit, and we are going to witness such practices in other sectors also from now onwards. Yeah. Any further questions? Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And my next question is for Professor Layla Mendes. And my first question to you, ma'am. There is a tendency for people to always imitate fashion trends in developed countries rather than the poorer ones. Do you think economy has a play in that? Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks for the question. Yes. Economic has a, a role in the diffusion of innovation when we observe trends that spread according to the hierarchy of the social pyramid. But what we should understand also is that the complexity of the societies and the urban groups it's more, the dynamic within these groups is more complex than only the pyramid of the social pyramid. So of course, when we think about having the first access to trends, we immediately think that people with the higher purchasing power will be the first ones to have the access. But if we observe, there are some also aspects that can be observing in this dynamic, because emergent manifestations, they will occur in every urban groups, and we can see it spreading really fast with the social media. Since the internet became a space where everyone can share your opinions and your thoughts and your lifestyle and the way that they are living and thinking, uh, the information spreads very quickly. Uh, and also thinking about the fact that this year we reached that more than 50% of the world population with internet access. This data is from We Are Social. They released this data last April. Specifically, right now we have 63% of the world population with internet access. It's uh, uh, undoubtedly we can understand that the information will spread not only from the rich to the poor, and not only within the rich countries and not only to the poor countries, because online the information is the communication is more horizontal, is more open, and of course the trends they will spread also horizontally, mostly online.
So internet access has a major play in it. And my second question to you is, during pandemic, stuck at home consumers started prioritizing comfortable clothes, thus began a shift toward more casual fashion. How do you think pandemic plays a big role when it comes to the fashion industry? Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, without a doubt, the pandemic changed the way we impacted the fashion industry, mostly because people started rethinking the way that they consume, looking for more comfortable clothes, looking for shoes, more comfortable shoes also, but also related to made ourselves questioning, do I really need to buy these clothes, and do I really need to buy the new trends that the media like to share. uh, but of course the media contribute a lot with this sharing trends information and sharing fashion information, and this information has impact on how we buy and how we dress themselves. And mistakenly the media is sharing that the trends are the big villain uh, within this system, that making us buy more and more, and being us as consumers not being aware, not being worried about the sustainability and the environmental issues. But what we think, honestly and personally, what I think is that the trends industry, let's call like this, this field were really helpful during this crisis, because companies, factories, and designers, they looked for trend agencies and trend researchers, asking them, these professionals, what can I do to help to overcome the crisis? And what I feel is that the trend industry helped the fashion industry to overcome the crisis, but I don't know if honestly these changes in the fashion system they will last, because the media was also sharing that right now the fashion industry will be more aware about the environment, and they will slow down, and people will be more aware about what they are consuming. And at that moment we could see it from 2020 but honestly I don't know if these changes they will remain, and if we'll keep with this idea that we need to change, otherwise the world will collapse.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And my next question is for Dr. Vaibbhavi, ma'am. And my first question to you is, owing to the pandemic, the fashion world saw a major slowdown in 2020. Sustainability is definitely the most important factor when it comes to fashion consumers. Do you think these new trends and convenience dressing are focusing on sustainable clothing? Over to you, ma'am.
So much as we may like that it is moving in that direction, this is what we're discussing today, that it should positively moving towards sustainable choices, but there's a long, long way. And there are a zillion ways that you could do it. I just shared that some time back, and I will reiterate. So it starts with the individual, what you choose to include in your own wardrobe. That is the power of the consumer, right? No matter what the media is telling you, no matter what the social media campaigns are, if the individual is going to ask the right questions to the makers, that who made my clothes, how was it made, how is it contributing towards sustainability, when these kind of questions get asked, that's when the wheels of change will start turning, right? And it's a collective responsibility. It's not just, you cannot be doing the blame game or saying that, oh, fast fashion is bad. That's also part of the fashion industry. The day the fashion conglomerates understand their responsibility as a manufacturer, start treating their employees ethically, start paying the right wages, and also taking care of how the post consumer waste is being addressed. These are things that we will all have to work collectively towards. And convenience can't be just about use and dump, use and throw. That's something that you also have to see, that you will have to start caring for things. So a, you start caring for things, you start caring for people. Eventually all that care will also boil down to the planet as well. So that's something that one needs to be very, very empathetic with the people around you, as well as your practices in everyday life. So clothing being a very primary role, besides the other choices that consumers would make.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And my next question to you is, do you think convenient fashion is individual specific yet cherish the diversity? Over to you, ma'am.
Indeed, indeed. So I think clothing has the power for a person to express who they are on that particular day, on that particular occasion, right? That is my superpower as a person, right? No one else can define that for me. So today I can be somebody who's very say in a very boho mood. The next day I want to be very sharp, business like, and dress up in a business suit. The third day I can be wearing my most exquisite vintage kanjivaram and moving around, or drape 100-year-old heirloom sari from my grandmother's wardrobe. That's my choice, who I will want to be that day, and that no one else can define for me. In that sense, yes, it is very, very individualistic, but it also is very inclusive and gives you an opportunity to embrace diversity in so many ways. So, like as the old adage says, that travel is the best way of learning. So in today's time, you actually can go through a time travel, or go around the world by just on the click of a button. All you need is to be able to be uh, open to ideas, things that resonate with you as an individual, inspirations that kind of enrich your experience as an individual or a design person. Mostly that's the audience here, so I'm going to talk about that. So that's where your fashion inspirations will come. And in turn, when you are creating a fashion product or a service, that will eventually bring in that respect and sensitivity, cultural appropriation of all these experiences that you see. So, therefore, definitely diversity is going to be the way forward in terms of people talking about convenience in their individual practices as designers, as consumers in through their convenient clothing. But that is the only way forward. You cannot be living in a myopic world in today's times.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very important of what you speak. Uh, so, with this, we now come to the end of our session. And I would once again like to say that we're calling for submissions of stories, essays, and poems. And for project architecture and submission guidelines, please visit our website www.tellmeyourstory.biz. Extremely heartfelt thank you to Dr. Nithyaprakash Venkatasamy sir, Dr. Vaibbhavi Pruthviraj Ranavaade ma'am, and Professor Layla Mendes ma'am for this wonderful and remarkable session. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.